Welcome to Faith, Family, and Fishing, where everybody has a story and everybody has a fishing story. This is our first podcast. We hope you like it. It's focused on the Montgomery community for the most part, and so you can get to know your community. And today we have my pastor.
Honored to be here, man.
So thanks so much. You have a cool story. I mean, we obviously talk a lot, and we both like fishing, but
Just a little bit, yeah.
just a little. But come on, tell us your story. Where are you from?
Well, I was born at a very young age. Where do you want me to start? Like how far back?
Well, everybody's born at a young age.
As I know, I was kind of.
But
you missed the joke, bro.
Yeah,
You missed the joke.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
very young age.
I was born at a very young age.
Yes,
Yeah,
I was. I mean, I don't know where you would start. I was born in Fort Worth, Texas. I don't remember it because when we were I think I was 5, our family moved to East Texas. So Tyler, Texas. Spent most of my time there in Tyler. Love Tyler, Texas still. Was there for about 38 years cumulatively, I guess. No, longer than that. But anyway, yeah, so grew up there. Was the oldest in my family. And as I grew up in Tyler, I got to see kid after kid after kid be born. There's 10 of them total. So me, my brother.
So small family.
Yeah, very tiny. Yeah, 12 with parents, right? So it's me, a brother, 7 girls, and a brother. And so, yeah, and the youngest now is 25. I'm 45, so to give you an idea of the spread there. Same mom, same dad. And grew up a little different probably than many. We were homeschooled. And, yeah, so mom and dad, incredible parents. I mean, really, I was raised in just the most incredible home, Christian home. And mom and dad were very intentional with the way they raised us. So we were homeschooled. Most of us were all homeschooled through high school. About halfway through, there were some school opportunities that came up that I didn't exist when I was a kid, you know. And so some of them went to private school. But yeah, I was homeschooled all the way through high school.
So you were homeschooled before homeschool was cool.
Definitely was not cool at that time. Yeah, and that I say it wasn't cool. There were the weird homeschoolers, and then there was us, right? Like I didn't think we were weird. Of course, others looked at us, you're homeschooled, and they just assumed we were weird, and they're probably right. But yeah, I've seen homeschooling done well, and I've seen it done poorly. And I would just say my mom and my dad were incredible, absolutely incredible.
Now, your dad, but he was a pastor as well, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. So he was also an entrepreneur. He owned a couple different companies and was always an entrepreneur as far as I remember, always owned his own companies. And nothing big, more cleaning, service-based kind of stuff. And then later in life, kind of like me, honestly, he perceived a call to ministry. Went back to seminary, went to Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, got his master's there, and served as a pastor in different capacities, several different places, several different ways, really, where I think he probably found his greatest ministry opportunity was when he went and became a chaplain. And so he started serving as a chaplain for like hospice organizations and hospitals and things of that nature. But, you know, he was always a pastor to our family, but then also believed, and I believe he was right, God had called him to something more. And he died about 1.5 years ago. And but I'll just tell you, man, when he passed, there was a short season leading up to his passing. You know, he had cancer, and as we were kind of dealing with that and just spending time with him and mom, people started coming out of the woodwork. You know, just talking about the way he had affected them and the way his ministry had affected them, and that was so powerful. So,
and it also took you overseas, didn't it?
Yeah. So when I was about 15 or 16, I guess I was 16, Dad told Mom, "Hey, I believe that God wants us to go to Romania." And you can imagine, like, have you seen the kids? We actually have a few, you know. And so they did. They packed up everybody, and there were some crazy things associated with that. I mean, some real God moments where, you know, we were never a wealthy family. I mean, I don't know if it's possible when you have that many kids to be a wealthy family. We were never a wealthy family. And there were numerous times when we would have a specific need, or we would be on a trip. I remember one time we were driving to DFW to take Dad to the airport so he could fly overseas and explore the country. He'd never even been there. And so we're driving and the van overheats or something, breaks down. And we just happen to break down right next to a church. And so I remember Dad runs over to the church, knocks on the door, and sure enough, pastor's there, somebody was there. And they're like, we'll give you a ride. And so they pack up me, Mom, Dad. At the time, there was 8 kids. There weren't 10. There were just 8. That's all. Yeah, it's easy. Packed them all up into the church van. He drives us the rest of the way. I think it was about another hour. Drove us the rest of the way to DFW. Drops Dad off. Takes us back. By the time we got back, they had taken care of our van, got it fixed.
Wow.
So we at no cost to us, and so then drove home. I mean, just story after story like that just confirmed, I think, in some powerful ways, God's behind this. Trust me. And so we did. We moved over there in 1995. For a 16-year-old, that's kind of like, it's jerking the rug out of a 16-year-old. I'll just tell you. I was this close to getting my first car. I had a guy, I kind of had it. The guy had said, this will be your car. I was like, yeah, I was enjoying that, and had a girlfriend, and had my first job a couple different ways, doing siding for a construction company stuff. And then it's like, oh, we're moving to a third world country. There won't be any power, running water. We're going to there's an outhouse, we're going to live in this with 8 kids. Ready? Let's go.
Especially, 6 of them are girls?
6 at the time, were girls. So it's me and my brother. Thank God for my brother. I'll just tell you, when you have that many in a family, I'll tell you, you got to have a sidekick. And I was his sidekick, let's be clear. But it was me and then my little brother and 6, 7 girls eventually. That my next to the bottom was born there, not in Romania, but in Hungary next door. So, yeah, crazy.
7 girls using an outhouse.
That's how it went, man. It was, if you include Mom, it was 7 girls, right? 6 girls and Mom. And me and Nathan, too. Of course, a lot of times I think we just skipped the outhouse.
Yeah,
right?
No, that's boys for
you.
you.
Oh, yeah, easy. So, it's crazy. Now, we soon dug, we had a well, but we dug it out, and then we added a pump to it, plumbed the house. We added running water, so we had a toilet, and built another little addition onto it. But I mean, learned a lot about life.
So how do you think that affected you over there? How you were there 4 years?
Just 2 years, yeah. How did it affect me? Well, I think it's really healthy for everybody. I think especially men, and I won't speak on behalf of women, but I think it's really, really good to go through some junk and to experience a world where you don't have all the comforts. I'll be honest with you. We live in a world nowadays where everything's so comfortable that if we call it first world problems, right? And there's validity to that statement. I get mad if I go to the bathroom and forget my phone, right? It's like, that's the end of the world, right? Well, what if there's no phone? What if there's no bathroom? And I think it can really change the way you view people. It'll change the way you view every aspect of life when you've had to actually deal with life in its most raw, basic form. And there were moments that we did. I'm not saying it was horrible. In fact, it's some of the greatest memories of my life. Some of the best friends we ever made were over there during that 2 years. One of my best friends came back, not with us, but soon thereafter, and still my best friend to this day. But I mean, we go camping so that we can get a little sampling, right?
Of what it's like.
Go do it for 2 years. I highly recommend it.
Did you do any fishing while you're there?
Very little, which is really weird, right? Because I love to fish and I was addicted to it. It was very different there. They didn't have largemouth bass. They didn't have just different species of fish that we don't have here. In fact, their number one targeted species was a carp of some sort.
Yeah, carp's really big in Europe.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And so for me, I was kind of like, we shoot those over in America, But so they had carp, and there was some other. They had like a pike-looking fish. May have been a pike, looked like a northern pike, but it was like a pickerel. It was not as big, right? It was kind of about this size, and I did catch a few of those, but I wasn't addicted to it. And we were just, you'd have to walk everywhere you went. So it was like, do I want to walk 2 miles to fish? Not really. So yeah.
Oh, so you came back, but it seems like you kind of fast forward a little bit. You gained your dad's entrepreneurial spirit as well as the whole pastor vibe.
Sure. Well, it took many years, honestly, for I kind of fell into ministry. I'll be honest. So when we got back, I was about 18 years old when we got back, and I finished high school, but at that time, homeschooling, they didn't know what to do with me. It's like, you graduated? I think so. Like, what now? Well, I'll make you a diploma and we'll take you to somebody who's got a printer. And that's literally the way I got my high school diploma. And it said Laird Christian Academy. And there was no LLC or any DBA or nothing. It was nothing. It was just Laird Christian Academy. It's like, okay. And so then Dad said, I tell you what, just to make sure we didn't mess this up, why don't you go get your GED?
Did we skip giving your name?
Oh, yeah, I'm Aaron.
Aaron Laird.
Aaron Laird. Yeah, that's fine.
It's our
yeah.
first, everybody. It's our first.
Yeah, it was on the diploma. It said Aaron Laird on there. But yeah, so yeah, it kind of looks suspicious when your diploma says Laird Christian Academy and the name is Aaron Laird. It's like, but anyway, so Dad made me go do a GED. Did the GED and started going to Tyler Junior College. Decided I wanted to be an EMT. So I did that for about 6 months. Then I decided I did not want to be an EMT. I wanted to be a computer science, whatever that went. And so I did that for 6 months. And I had no direction. Kind of just hopping here and there, figuring out what I wanted to do, and living off of the federal application for federal student aid, the FAFSA, whatever that is. You know, you could register for 4 classes, then drop 2 and keep the money for the 2 you dropped. That's horrible to admit. It's statute of limitations. I did that as
everybody
a teen.
in college has done a little bit of that. Right?
It's horrible. It paid for books and my gas, you know, and lunch and all the other things. But that was 90, 98, 99. And then I started just working. And I started working a little bit for my dad, one of his service companies. And finally, got a phone call from a guy in Marshall, Texas, who was a family friend. He was on staff at East Texas Baptist University. He said, hey, Aaron, he said, what do you want to do with your life? And I remember saying, I have no idea. I really didn't. Thought I would do construction. I'd always worked construction just off and on as a young man. And he said, well, we've got these programs here at East Texas Baptist University. Why don't you come and check them out? And I said, well, what do you got? And he started listing, you know, we got biology and we got chemistry. And I'm like, yeah. And he says, we have recreation. I said, that's a degree? Yeah, recreation is a degree. So I went to ETBU and, you know, paid my way through school, worked 2 jobs and also loans and between all that. Started in 2000 and got a degree in kinesiology, emphasis in camp and recreation management. So that was the recreation degree. You basically were planning on working at a Christian camp. So my undergraduate was in physical education. And then I met Tara, my wife.
I was going to say, is that where you met her?
Oh, day one, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it wasn't day one. It was literally day 2, though. I got there. All I had was a motorcycle. I had a Honda CX500 motorcycle.
Oh, yeah.
Just an old piece of junk. And, you know, 1979 model, had dual exhaust. Nobody needs dual exhaust on 500 cc's, but whatever. So, but I drove that thing, no headlight, had to push start it. That was all I had. And I got to school, and I thought, I got to get a job. So I drove from the dorm to the local mall in Marshall, Texas. They have a little mall there, and they had a seasonal toy store, KB Toys. I don't know if you know KB. And they had a sign out that said, seasonal help needed. And so I walked up to KB Toys and said, you know, I'm here for a job. And I applied. She goes, well, I need an assistant manager, which was a joke. All that meant is you worked more hours. And I said, okay, well, that made $8.50 instead of $6.50. So I said, put me in, coach. So I made the $8.50 an hour. And I remember the first day I walked in, I thought I was cool stuff. I had my leather jacket, my helmet, you know, Honda CX500 parked in the back parking lot. And I kid you not, this is a true story. I walked in, and Tara, my now wife of 23 years, was sitting on the floor in the Hot Wheels aisle, okay? Because toy stores, you know, they have the aisle, and all the little Hot Wheels are hanging up. And she's sitting there, she's just hanging out Hot Wheels, and you could tell this was the most boring thing on the planet. And I looked over at her, and she looks up at me, and she smiles. And I kid you not, and I'm not going to say God said, but I knew in that moment I was going to marry that girl.
Really?
I knew in that second, yeah.
I've heard these stories before.
It's really true.
I'm just like, is it really true?
It was in this case. And, you know, I realized also I'd have to convince her, and that took some work. But, yeah, so for the next, you know, that was August of 2020. No, of 2000. August of 2000 when I started. And by 2022, we were married. So, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So we celebrated 23 years.
So were you out of college? Or
no. So here's what's cool is East Texas Baptist University has a married housing thing.
Okay.
Okay. So I was, like I say, I was there on a little bit of scholarships, mostly paying my way, big loans. But they also had, so I was in the dorms, and then they also had an option called married housing, which was just like a little bit bigger than a dorm. But there's this statement, and I think I've heard this at other schools too, but ETBU lives by this. You get a ring by spring or your money back. That's like, apparently people who go to ETBU, they go there and they get married quick. So we did. She was not a student at the time. She went to school later. But I went to ETBU, found out this married housing thing. And I was like, hey, we could do that. And so we did. And so we lived in married housing for 2 years. And the funny thing is, you put in a deposit. It was a couple $100, but for me, it could have been a couple thousand based on what I was making at the time. Just put a couple $100 down there. Like, all right, you can go in there. Don't touch anything. Well, we go into this place, and the whole floor of this little 400 square foot married housing is asphalt tile that's chipped and broken up, and all the walls have been, dented. It's all sheetrock. None of the blinds worked. You didn't have any privacy in your room, so the blinds didn't work. So I asked Tara, this is before we were married. We were about to get married that weekend. And we were moving furniture and getting ready to get married and move in. And so I told her, I was like, go meet the furniture guy at the house because he's bringing a couch and he's bringing some other stuff. So she goes to this little married housing dorm. She goes to the door, and the next thing I know, I'm waiting tables at El Chico. And one of the waiters comes up to me. She's supposed to be delivering furniture. The waiter comes up to me and goes, Aaron, I think your fiance is in the lobby and she's crying. I thought, that's not good.
That's never good.
So I go to the lobby. She goes, I cannot live there. She just starts telling me, I cannot live there. She'd never seen the inside of it. I was all talking it up, but who am I? I'm like this bachelor. I drive a motorcycle with no headlight. Who cares?
I mean, if you come out of the door,
literally.
Yeah, this is good. No matter what, it's going to be an upgrade.
I mean, yeah, well, for me it was.
Yeah.
Right? She's coming from mom and dad's house.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, down at Caddo Lake in this beautiful. And so I said, well, okay, I had $700 to my name. And I said, I'm going to spend every penny I have on this thing. So I said, forget the deposit, forget the damage concern. We spent that $700. I did it myself. I carpeted the whole thing. I carpeted the areas that needed it, put linoleum down, painted everything, turned it into the nicest apartment there. And so after I was done, then she said, okay, I'll marry you, basically. And so we got married and lived there for 2 years.
That's crazy. Awesome.
Yeah, man.
So you move out of there. You think you're going to be park counselor or something like that.
I really did. I thought I was going to work at a camp. Yeah.
Which is a very famous camp that we have in common. Not me, but
Pine Cove.
But
Sky Ranch.
Yeah.
I did some summer work at both those places.
And that proved to you, like, I got to do something else.
It wasn't the work, but if you want to have a family. It's impossible. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. So no, I think it's good. I think it's good for the kids, being there at Pine Cove to see. Hey, shout out to Pine Cove.
Love it.
Is
amazing.
The kids got to work their way up, and it teaches them, like you said, a little hardship, right? Because it's work. I talk to those kids like, it's work.
I was on Tim Team. Any Pine Covers out there? Tim Team. My handle was Cowboy. But yeah.
So you're married, you're out, and now what do you still haven't been called to ministry yet?
Yeah. So I've always had this theory that every Christian is called to ministry. Now, I do believe that the pastoral role in ministry is a very unique calling. Mm-hmm. But as a believer, I've always felt that. And so when I was in school, especially at ETBU, there was a church there in Marshall. I started looking for jobs, and there was Cypress Valley Bible Church there in Marshall, and they were looking for a worship leader. And I'd always been a musician. I took classical piano growing up and guitar. And
he actually sounds good. I've heard him.
Yeah.
Unlike me.
Well, thank you. But anyway, so I said, I could probably do that. This church needed a little part-time worship leader, so I started there, and it grew, and it was a great experience. And I love the church, Pastor Bob Bryant, and so many there, and I still have friends there. And it was perfect. It was a perfect part-time gig, But so I did that for 2 years, and then after that 2 years, I found I really liked it. And then after I graduated, we moved back to Tyler, Texas. I have some deep roots there. So we moved back down there and started looking for a job and started working for a hospital. My degree was close enough to a recreation therapy degree. They put me in as an activity therapist at a local hospital. But then I also found a church at Grace Community Church of Athens and started. So used to commute 45 minutes to lead worship, come back and go to work 20 minutes the other way. So we kind of split the difference both directions for a while. Did that for a few years. Still was very much on the music thing and trying to make that a career.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. As a worship leader. Yeah. So thought not as a, what do you call this? Not as a gigging musician.
Okay.
But trying to find a way to make it.
I was so hoping you were going to tell me you were trying to be in a band.
No.
Well,
awesome. just a church, right?
Yeah,
I wanted
church band.
Yeah. I wanted to turn that into a ministry career. Mm-hmm. I love it. I still love it to this day. And, but long story short, went from there to a very short window at Azelway Boys Ranch, and then got a call from a man named Jeff Olive, whom you know. This is 2007. So it was about 3 years there. I was at the hospital. And
doctor, right?
Dr. Jeff Olive. Very dear friend.
Great guy.
Yeah. So he called me. It was been probably August 2007. He said, "Hey, this is a really funny story." He said, "I'm looking for a keyboard player." And he said, "Would you meet me at Starbucks and we'll talk about keyboards?" And I'm thinking, that's the weirdest request ever. Like, just tell me to come to an audition. Why would we sit down and visit about playing keyboards? Like, he's like, "Yeah, I just want to pick your brain." So I sit down with him, and Jeff is the best administrator, business mind I have ever heard in my life. Like, there's nobody close. He can see a big picture and make decisions like that. It's just brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It's a gift. So he always kind of says, "Well, the real reason I called you is
Jeff, when you coming on?"
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. You should bring him on." But so he said, "Hey, I'm starting a church. I've been appointed. Back then we were United Methodist. The United Methodist Church, they do appointments very similar to the way that we do them in the Global Methodist Church. But so this is 2007. He had been tasked with starting a church in a specific location there in South Tyler. And so he said, I've got funding for 2 years. He said, I can pay you this much. I need a partner in ministry. Would you come on board? And at the time, I was looking hard, and it was a real blessing. And I said, absolutely. So then I said, but wait a minute. I said, my background is non-denominational, Baptist a little bit. I said, what's the difference between a Methodist, a Baptist, a Pentecostal? I said, you know what? He said, well, I'll tell you the biggest difference. A Methodist will actually shake your hand at the beer store. That's what he said. That was his answer.
That's so true.
And I thought, okay. It took me a minute, right? And then, of course, the rest was history. I mean, he was.
So Carly, my wife, shout out, babe.
Well done.
We'd gone as a kid a little bit to Methodist, but
Yeah.
Similar to you, I was kind of Baptist, and then we were Lutheran and
Right.
Baptist.
Yeah.
In Army, non-denominational.
Methodist is what you get when you mix a Baptist with a Lutheran.
And so Ella was christened in a Lutheran church at very early age.
Awesome.
But and so it was a very country church out in Crosby, Texas, and so we were living in Highlands at the time, and so we were going there, and then we moved out to Mont Bellevue, and there wasn't a Lutheran church. It's too far to drive.
Yeah.
And Carly grew up Methodist. She goes, "Well, we're going to Methodist," and I'm like, "Okay."
Probably a wise call.
Yeah, and you're really, I mean, again, kind of like I said, it wasn't much. My favorite Lutheran story is similar to yours, like beer is. It's Christmas Eve. I'll never forget it. Christmas Eve, and storm is coming down.
Oh yeah.
Right, storm's coming down, and little country church. There's not a lot of overhang, so we're waiting to go through. And one of my dear friends there, he's like, we're not Baptist. We have wine here.
We're not stuck.
It all depends on your perspective.
So
that's exactly right. So
what's funny is I know alcohol-related jokes for almost every denomination, and I'm good with it. I love it. Yeah.
No, it definitely is. So you're in the church now.
Yeah.
You're a worship leader?
Yeah. So I was full-time worship leader. Went in there. We had very similar to the way we are right now at Church of Montgomery. We were in a movie theater. In fact, when we started, we didn't even have the movie theater. We had about 40 folks who were like, "Hey, we're gonna do this. We're gonna start a church." And so Jeff started looking around, and he found a movie theater. So we rented out one theater. Started with one theater, and then over the next 4 years, we expanded to 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then we split the whole theater in half. And literally, their biggest theater was our sanctuary. The one next to us was the kids' room. The one next to that was the youth room.
You're going into the theater.
Yeah.
And you're depending on what there's Judge Dredd, Sunday school.
Oh yeah. No, the worst was the Sunday that they showed Hellboy, and you had to walk in under that sign. It's like, this isn't the name of our pastor, right? So
awesome.
That actually happened. Numerous movies that you were kind of like, I wish we could just turn those marquees off, Yeah. So we met at the Carmike Cinema, which is now AMC, I believe, in Tyler. They got bought. But we were there for over 4 years. And during that time, we saw the church grow, and I'd be lying, I don't remember. But we started with 40, and I'll bet we had 300, 350 over at the end of that 4 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so then we went from there. We raised money. We did a capital campaign, very similar to the way Church of Montgomery just did. And we bought 16 acres, and we built on about 6 of it. And we built about a 16,000 square foot facility, and very state-of-the-art. Honestly, very similar to what Church of Montgomery is about to build. And so I served there as worship leader for over 16 years.
Okay.
Now full time. And in about 2018, I'll be honest, I was in a group called The Vine. which was kind of a small group. But a very intentional focus of this group was to determine, okay, what is God calling you to specifically in your life? And you would think that as a worship leader, you'd be like, oh, worship leader, duh. But I was coming up, honestly, I would have been 38, 39. And I was thinking, I've done this for a long time. What if God wants me to do something else? And I'd been full-time for 16 years. I had been a worship leader for much longer than that. Never really considered pastoral ministry before. But in the context of that group, as we were looking at our gifts, looking at the way that we believe God had wired us and things like that, some of these surveys I was doing was saying, you know what, you might be wired to do this. And I do believe in a calling. I do. I believe in calling. I believe that we all have, as I said, a calling to ministry in our lives. But there was something at the end of that study that told me, you know what, you need to pursue.
What would you tell a young person,
yeah,
a woman or a man, right?
Sure.
Yeah, boy or girl,
yeah,
as they're coming up, because I think that's one of the best things about this podcast that we can do is there's not a straight line to where you want to go, and you don't have to go, especially now. What I think with college universities getting crazy expensive.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
There's not a straight line to where you go. What advice would you give?
Yeah.
A boy or girl trying, 15, 16 years old, as they're thinking about, because they're school stressed. You got to get this perfect SAT score. You got to do this.
Yeah.
You've got to go get this. What would you tell them?
Ooh. Well, first, there are no straight lines, are there?
No.
And to the Christian, I would refer them to stories in the Bible and say, David, he was king, but did you see where he came from? Did you see how squiggly and convoluted that line is? I mean, you name someone in the Bible that God really used for mighty things, they have a past, and it's crazy 99% of the time. We reference it all the time in church. Like, think about Abraham. Think about Jacob. Think about all these giants of the faith. David
got me through my first year at Microsoft.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember thinking it was the worst thing that ever happened. I just came off of a clean, just this awesome gig. Microsoft came calling, and in that first year, if I didn't have David to go back and look at,
oh my goodness,
it was David. David and who called David? What was Samuel?
Yes.
Samuel, right? Between Samuel and David, understanding that, I don't know that I could have got through that year.
That's good, man. That's a testimony there.
It really is. Carly knows. So
awesome.
So now you're moving into pastoral work.
Well, not yet. So, I mean, and I don't know how much detail you want, but it's been really interesting. The United Methodist Church, talk about squiggly lines. They have a process by which a layperson, which I was at the time, had no seminary training whatsoever, can begin seminary training, and they even had scholarships for it. Okay. It was fascinating, yeah. And so once I had determined and felt truly that God was calling me to something else, then I started pursuing that. And Pastor Matt Stone, who Jeff Olive was there at the church that I served in Tyler for many years, then it transferred to Matt Stone, and it was under the second pastor of the church that I started having these conversations. And he said, listen, I can point you where you need to go. And he connected me with some incredible leaders in the denomination. And so I began what's called the course of study. They have a course of study for pastors. I began that and did about a year and a half or so. Then we had the denominational split.
Mm-hmm.
And so many of us who were in the pastoral course of study, which we were counting on to become pastors, right? We're like, what do we do now? And so as this vote became looming for many of our churches, and we began to determine whether or not we were going to remain United Methodist or become Global Methodist, there was a group of folks, specifically college professors and pastors, that got together and started contacting seminaries and saying, hey, you're about to have an opportunity here. You got a lot of folks heading into a new denomination that are going to need training, and they're going to need pastors. And so Baylor University opened up. I don't know if it was at the behest of those pastors in this movement, but I know that soon thereafter I heard about it. They opened up a Wesley House of Studies, which is a very unique opportunity. Baylor is historically a Baptist university.
Right. I know that's what.
Without question.
Yeah, exactly. So you're at Baylor finishing up what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to put the lines together about the split. So, kind of fast forward. So you go through the study, you become a pastor. Now, where do you become a pastor at?
So first you become what's called a licensed local pastor. You do certain amount of requirements, prerequisites, you become a licensed local pastor.
Like a journeyman.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
You got to work up.
Yep.
Because they're not going to throw you off,
Right.
So you kind of got to learn the lay of the land.
And then you have to complete X number of classes. It's something like 7 classes to get that, 7 classes to get that, 7 more classes to get that, and then you become a deacon, and that's what I am now. I'm a deacon. And then you have 1 class left to become an elder. I'll be an elder in the spring, which I'm really excited about.
But you're looking like an elder.
I feel like an elder. Yeah, the camera I hear makes me look like an elder.
Well, one thing you skipped over there, and I want to call people out is, and so before we finish up, where you at as pastor is, you also, again, kind of like your dad, you have a business on the side.
Yeah, actually, you're right. Yeah, it was about that same time.
So
maybe it was a midlife crisis, Shannon. Maybe that's what it was.
That's what I'm saying is you're doing all this, you're working hard, having a family, but you and your wife are running this business together.
Yeah.
So which is, again, that your dad coming out in you.
That's good. I love that, man. I'm honored to have anybody say that. I truly am.
I mean, that's one of the things I first noticed. Right? Like, you're a lot closer, outside of the basketball team, or 2 basketball teams.
Well, it's a football team, right? 11 folks. Yeah, we were 12 with everybody.
But so you've got a business on the side, and you're running running the gym. It's a gym.
It's a gym. Yeah.
It's a gym. So you're running the business on the side, becoming this Wesley leader. Right.
Yeah, that was a season. That was a season. Yeah. So my wife and I guess we started in about 2013, 14. We got into CrossFit, and there where we lived in East Texas, there was a little small garage gym, and we joined the garage. It was literally a guy's garage, and then he grew and rented a space, rented another space, and grew. And then after several years, it started to just kind of dwindle. The membership started dwindling. He had become very busy with his main job. This was a bivocational thing for him, and so he kind of started dwindling, and he was getting ready to just shut it down. And he I don't know if he posted it, but he said, "Hey, I'm willing to sell this to anybody." And he said, "And I'll sell it cheap." And so he named one number, and I went back to him and I named half that number. And he said,
"You're like, I'm broke."
Yeah. And he's like, "Okay." And so it went through, and so we were able to pay cash for it. We bought it cash, and at the time, I think there was like 6 members at this gym. This is a subscription-based gym, and so we built it up from there. We hired a coach, and if not for that coach, it would never have been successful. But your people matter so much. Whom you hire, who you put around you, it's so critical.
I've always believed, I've done a couple different things, but I think my core training is in project and program management.
Okay, yeah.
And I've always believed that it's easier to get, I always like talking military terms or football terms.
Okay.
And I always believe that it's easier to get your team to want to take that hill than you to put a foot in their butt.
Absolutely.
And so because then, they're doing it for you, that you got their back. It seems very similar to what you're saying is that team around you is making you successful.
Yeah, I think good managers spend more time encouraging and empowering and actually turning them loose, right? I think delegation is something that good leaders, the best leaders are excellent at it. They can delegate, they can trust, they can follow up, but they also are just, they're straight shooters and they're encouragers. I think to your point, like, if you have to goad someone, they're not the right person, or you're not managing.
Or you're not managing, and that's sometimes maybe it's 50-50 on that. But being 100%. Being able to find, because you don't know what time. In my roles, I never knew what type of team I was going to get.
Right.
So you've got.
You're inheriting.
In that role, you're not a real manager. You're responsible for their careers. You're given a team, the dirty dozen, so to speak.
Yeah.
And,
you've got an outcome you're looking for.
You got an outcome. So you've got to figure out each personality, right?
Yeah.
What motivates each person.
Yeah.
Some people want praise. Some people actually like to kind of be,
Do you think that happens after a company reaches a certain level? Like, is that like a corporate thing?
No.
Or no?
No,
because I feel like management's different at my level. Like, I had 4 trainers. That was it. Me and my wife. I don't know.
Well, I think maybe at a corporate level, yes, figuring out, but figuring out the teams though, is universal.
Right.
That's kind of the end. So like
just knowing how to manage,
how to manage that team to get the most out of them, and not everybody can do it. Not everybody can be the right kind of project manager. Not everybody can be the right kind of manager. Knowing, and I think that's. one of the things I've really enjoyed, throughout since Carly and I've been married is Maxwell Leadership Bible.
I've heard of it. Yes.
And again, that was a Bible I kind of leaned on, when we were away. But giving those principles, leadership principles that God lays out.
Oh, absolutely. They're universal.
They're universal.
Whether you're a believer or not, if you do what God made natural to His creation, you're going to be successful at that.
You're going to be successful.
Absolutely.
At that. And going through the new phase, we're not going to talk about it today, but the new phase of life I'm going on. That's exactly right. God puts you in a place, and I think God put you in several places that kind of pushed you into that. So now, so now you've got the leadership, you've got the business over here on the side. So kind of fast forward a little bit. Where's your first pastor gig?
Yeah. So one of the things we wanted to do is we felt like, the one thing that I didn't really know well was business. And so one of the reasons we bought this gym was like, this is an opportunity to kind of earn our stripes, if you will, as leaders, as managers, things of that nature. Because really, in most pastoral situations, the pastor is not only, I know we see him on Sunday morning and he works an hour a week, right? He's also administrator. He's also the HR director. He's also the caregiver, the congregational care pastor.
The guy stands you up for lunch.
The guy stands you up. Yeah, I did that. So as as we were doing that, we really did. We learned a lot. We learned a lot about business. And my first pastor gig was not as a lead pastor. It was not as a preaching pastor even. I started off as worship pastor. Mm-hmm. So I beyond being worship leader, which I had been worship and creative arts director for 16 years, or I guess 14, 15 at the time. For the next year, I went on as worship pastor.
Okay.
And then toward the end of my time at that church, I became the executive pastor. And so my job was to oversee the finance, the HR, and some of that stuff. And I'll just tell you, executive pastors, that's a tough job. That's a tough job that I much prefer what I'm doing now. I love what I'm doing now.
Okay. So this role called you from that.
Yes. Yeah. So there was a season there where I went through some discernment, and then I got a call yet again from Jeff Olive. I just follow him around, grab his shirt tails, coat tails, whatever's that called. And he called me and he said, "Hey, I'm here at the Woodlands Methodist Church, and I've got a campus that we're looking for a pastor for. That they're doing some moving around." And he said, "We have an opportunity." And he said, "Would you be interested?" And what's interesting is my wife, not long prior, had told me I had the weirdest dream that one day we're going to live on Lake Conroe. I didn't. This is weeks prior, and notice this. I said I'm non-denominational. I'm not one of those super charismatics, right?
Right.
That's not the way I roll.
That's not you.
Not at all. I do believe the Holy Spirit can do whatever the Holy Spirit wants to do. But anyway, so she had told me weeks prior that I had this dream that we're going to live on Lake Conroe. I had to look up Lake Conroe. I didn't know where it was.
She's not from this area.
No.
She's
no.
So why would
I think we both had to look. I don't think she knew where it was. Maybe she had driven by it one time or something. I think we had heard that Jeff Olive and his family lived near Conroe.
Okay.
But I didn't realize that there was a Lake Conroe. And so we looked it up, and I'm like, that's weird. Thought nothing of it. A few weeks later, I get this invite. Where is it? It's real close to Lake Conroe over in this area. I'm like, wait a minute. And so I said, well, let us, he said, y'all think about it, pray about it. I said, of course. And we were in a season of change, and I was looking for what was next. And I said, Tara, you won't believe this. I said, you remember that dream you had? And she's like, yeah. And we had this crazy, crazy conversation. It was just wild. And honestly, within 24 hours, we called him back and said, we're in. We want to do this.
What do you think, with that? Y'all moved a little bit. And I remember
Sure.
Carly and I had something similar moving to D.C. And I think the hardest thing to do if you're going to advise a kid, getting ready as they're getting ready to take on these challenges. And I see it in my daughter saying, kind of like you and I talked about being curious, but
right.
A little different. But one of the things that, when we moved to D.C., told Carly, let's get off the porch.
Yeah.
Let's get off. I said, let's embrace this.
Yeah.
And, we moved to D.C., changed, probably wouldn't be sitting here today if I hadn't gone up there, which is odd.
That is wild.
It is odd, but the things.
Very different environment.
Very different,
yeah.
But the whole idea is to kind of embrace that change. What would you tell a young person about that? Because you've seen this.
Going through change?
Yeah, just, kind of saying, hey, let's take on this new challenge, right?
Well, there is a bigger story there, one that I'm not ready to yet put on a podcast. But one of these days we will. But yeah, I will say man, pain is the path. If you think about it, anything great that you've ever done in your life, like you work out, you want to get stronger, it's not comfortable. Those moments of pain, those moments of trial, and those moments of struggle that you go through in your life, they are literally the moments that form you into who God wants you to be, if you trust him. So what I would say is during that season, it's not that you just, I think it's very typical for people, especially young men today, and I speak to young men because I don't want to call out, I don't want to have to reckon with my wife when I get home. I'm just kidding.
Right.
No, but young men today, I think we are so prone to victimhood.
Mm-hmm.
And by that I mean when something difficult comes up, we shrink and turn inward. We look for the attaboys. We look for someone to come to our rescue. We tend to, poor me. And what happens is, first off, I was going to say, nobody else wants you to be successful in this life. I hate to say that, but it's nobody, maybe your mom, maybe your dad, but in the real world, nobody else wants you to be successful. God does, but it's not the success that maybe you're seeking.
Right.
So for that person who's going through the stuff, what I would say is, first, love God and recognize he has a purpose for you that you can't begin to imagine. Romans 5:8 says, for those who love God, he works all things together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. We talked about that recently.
I believe that exactly going through, I'm feeling more, through the change. We won't go into it right now.
Sure.
But the change, change in life that I'm going through is in the season, and the more I kind of embrace this challenge, and again, I like to say, I'm a hypocrite. I wake up every day and have to say, God, I'm sorry. I'm not what you want me to be.
Bro, that's how we live.
I'm a hypocrite. I fail, and all this, but
his mercies are new every morning.
I have to,
and I need them.
It's like Groundhog Day. I have to start over every day.
Absolutely,
every day, and
yeah.
And being in a little group.
Yeah.
So you get called, and I think it's a little shout out. I mean, I've been, at the church from the beginning and seen this, and I'll let you kind of call out where we're at.
Sure.
But where we're growing, and Cave and David were great. Now they're doing the things that they're called to, and now you're growing. I mean, we started with 90 people.
Yeah, I think I was told that it was 101. 101.
I think maybe official on the record. Like 101, right?
Sure.
So something like that. But I remember kind of the regular people coming. I think we were, counting the numbers. It was always like, because I was back there in the back at the time, and I could see the people count. I mean, about 90, right? So it's about, like I said, 101. It's about 90 would come every day. And so how many people do you think we're getting there now every week?
Well, and it's funny. I just ran those numbers today, and let me just say this. We're not after numbers. You know this.
No,
but numbers matter because people matter. So every number is a person, is a soul, and so that's part of what I have a dear friend who calls it the Whataburger factor of a church. You're not after numbers, you're after souls. But because you're after souls, you kind of looking at numbers, and that's part of the organizational structure of any church, any organization. Over the past 4 weeks, I actually sent an email out today. We were averaging 176, I think, which is great.
Which is almost double. And what I'd like to say is, I remember, kind of being on the board.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about this. My thing was, because at that time she was, I don't know, 9 or 10.
Right.
And I'm like, we got to have youth.
Yeah.
We got to have youth, and to have youth, you've got to have these other couples. I mean, so I was pushing.
It takes critical mass.
It takes. I said, I want to stay here.
Sure.
I want this to grow.
100%.
But if she's not, my whole thing was, if she's not going to school with her, and be able to see some of the same people at school as at church.
Yeah.
I got to go somewhere else.
100%.
Because you're with kind of like you're with that group, right?
Yeah.
You've got to be able to lean on.
You got to find your people.
You got to find your people.
Yeah,
and so in doing that, so where are you at now? This is the chance. Promo it. Do a shout out.
Where am I? What do you mean?
Where are you working at now?
Oh, the church in Montgomery, baby. Well, I work for the Woodlands Methodist Church.
Right.
Officially, I'm the lead pastor of the church in Montgomery, and it is the greatest blessing. I was telling somebody today, I've been in ministry, like I say, not vocationally necessarily, but for 25 years. When that would be starting at 20. I actually started at 18, but I've been in ministry my whole life. I've never been in a congregation that is more loving and more, dude, it makes me emotional to talk about it. Like people ask, like, what's it like on Sunday morning? And all I say is like, it's like a family reunion.
It really
Even
is.
while we're growing, the people that come into that family reunion become part of the family so quickly.
All different age groups.
All different age groups.
So
it's quite a span.
Yeah, to tell people, because you're either really young or you're really old, right?
Right.
That's not the case.
No, we have those.
We have, but it's the whole gamut. So somebody either looking, they're retiring and need to find a home, or you're young, in kind of middle age like me, right? You need to have it's the gambit. It's really
we're young, Shannon. We're young.
Yeah, we're young.
Very young.
I'm older than you.
I don't think so.
Flip your numbers. You're 40. You're 45.
Yeah,
I'm 54.
Well, then you're way younger than me because you look younger than me at 54, bro. Well done.
Thank you, Dad, Mom.
That's right. So genetics.
It's all genetics, baby. It's
genetics.
It's all good genetics.
Yeah, we have quite a group, don't we? We have the kids. We have a robust children's program, kids of all ages. We just kicked off the youth program. Ella's been very involved in that. We're working right now to finalize a plan for the fall. We've had an internship program going on that has kind of taken the leadership of our youth program. But that ends as we get back to school. So we'll have a little break at back to school, and then we're going to kick off something bigger in the fall. But lots going on. Very exciting.
So why don't you tell them where we're going to be?
Yeah. So we are, one of the things I'm so excited about is we're building our first building. And we have just finished a capital campaign. It was a larger capital campaign for numerous projects. So there's an expansion to the Woodlands loft service. There's an expansion at the Espanol service at the Woodlands campus, an expansion to Wood Forest campus, some parking. I believe it's not parking right now. It's something else at Creekside. And then we're getting our first building. And believe it or not, the church in Montgomery gets the lion's share of those contributions toward our project. So the current project is somewhere around $12 million. And so we're building a building at CB Stewart and Klepper Drive, right there by Ransom Steakhouse in downtown.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you don't know where it's at, just go find Ransom. You'll find the church.
That's right.
And where do we meet now?
So right now we meet at Oak Hills Junior High, which is 1000. I think it's 10,000.
Just look up Oak Hills.
Yeah, look up Oak Hills Junior High. I should know the address. At 9:30. 10:30, 9:30, 9 o'clock if you're doing Sunday school. 10:30 on Sunday mornings, and it is truly. I know it's a school. I know you're walking into a school, but you know this. You walk in, it doesn't feel like you're.
It does. With the banners, you'd be surprised. It feels like a rock band. Right, because
interesting. It feels a bit like a concert.
Because the roadies put this stuff up every day. Every Sunday.
I'm gonna tell them you call that.
Yeah, and they're pulling. Oh, they'll see it. A lot of we're friends on Facebook, and so they're pulling that stuff up, taking it down, and it's back. It's an amazing thing to see. And
it is.
And now we got crews, different road crews and everything else. It really is. So come see us, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So when do you think the new building is going to be launched? When do you expect to be in the new building?
So we're doing a fall festival early October because late October this year we're breaking ground, and so we got a few months left, and then the plan is for it to be completed in October 26th.
Okay.
And so we'll be doing all kinds of things in the lobby of the church, and we'll be doing some intentional communication out in the community just to keep people updated on how it's going. But we anticipate moving in at the latest Christmas 2026.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Which would be incredible. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
very, very exciting.
Well, this is that. I mean, it's just great. So it's in the name. So so
I remember.
We've kind of heard your story.
Yep. You said this was coming.
I told you this was coming.
Yeah.
So we've heard your story.
Yeah.
Both being fishermen. So tell us your fishing story, and just to let everybody know. Again, kind of reiterate. Faith, family fishing, and faith kind of links us together.
Yep.
But kind of it's that. I think it's that ball around us.
Yeah.
But fishing is that link given from God that links everybody. And as you think, as your podcast, you're like, I don't. You're gonna see these people. I don't fish. I guarantee everybody has a story.
Everybody. And
everybody has a fishing story.
Yeah.
Now you and I are a little different, but go ahead, tell us.
Yeah. Well, I've tossed several of them around. Been a lifelong fisherman, as you know. I love to fish. Probably one of my favorite fishing stories. I was on Caddo Lake. So,
I haven't been there yet.
It's the most beautiful lake in Texas. Yeah. It's the most beautiful, and Louisiana. It's the most beautiful.
And I think
lake.
it's the only natural lake.
There's some debate about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would claim to be the only natural lake in Texas, but there's a dam in there somewhere. So how does that work?
How does that work?
Anyway, yeah, maybe it's a natural dam. I don't know. But yeah, so I used to go down there. Tara, as I mentioned earlier, she and her family lived real close to the water there, and so I would go there a lot when we were dating. And I had a little John boat, and I had a 9.9 Johnson outboard, right? Little 2-cycle Johnson. You had to mix your oil and gas and everything. Little tiller steering.
Oh yeah, I love it. Caught more fish in those little
Dude,
John boats than any.
I have murdered a lot of crappie. Pastors aren't supposed to murder, but I had murdered a lot of crappie in that boat. So we would go down to the river. So you got the big lake, and then if you keep going north, I guess it's northwest, you hit the river. And so Highway 43, if you go west of 43, it's just river for miles and miles, all the way to Jefferson, Texas, and just keeps on going. And so I used to run down the river from her dad's. He lives up on the river. We used to run down the river and fish, and then come back. And one day we got all the way down the river, me and a buddy, we were in college, Mike Barron, a good friend. And we go way down the river, and so we start coming back. Now we're going upstream. So we're going upstream, and we're going, at top speed of about 5-7 miles an hour. It's just a 9.9, so probably 10-15 miles.
Yeah, except for 10-15.
We get up there, motor dies. It's a pull crank. There's no electric start on these things.
Oh.
Motor dies. So we start floating backwards down the river. And so I get it cranked again, goes up, stalls at the same place. And we do this 10 or 12 times. We look up, and there's 2 guys sitting on the bank with cigars or cigarettes or something, and they're looking at us and go, "We've been watching y'all for about 12 rounds now." We're like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right." He just says, "All right." He gets up, and he gets in his boat, ties us. "Where are we going?" He pulls us all the way back home. That's pretty funny.
I've been pulled home.
Very embarrassing.
What I've found interesting is you grew. Although as a kid I did some bass fishing, but you've grown up doing mostly bass fishing, and you're just now you love saltwater fishing.
Love it.
I've
never been close enough.
But me, I grew up. In all my high school, my granddad had lots of saltwater fishing.
Okay,
caught more redfish than a man should be in a lifetime,
Dude,
right? And
so
I still got some speckled trout I want to catch. But now I'm enamored with bass fishing, and I attribute it to bass fishing, kind of like deer hunting.
Yeah,
it is you've got to hunt to find them.
Yeah, it takes skill.
It takes it. To me, I haven't really mastered. I mean, I think I'm average, but definitely tournament fishing taught me that I'm just not. I'm not the person.
Oh, it'll humble you.
It will
humbles me every time.
Humble me, and so now it's. If I feel I equate it to like deer hunting, because you could go back, you could kill them, go back there the next day.
Oh yeah.
And they even might be there with the technology now. You could see them.
Oh yeah.
And you can throw that lure right in front of them, and
they'll just stare at it.
Yeah. Just let it go by. So it's awesome. Well, thank you for being on here.
I'm honored to be on your first ever episode.
First
brother.
ever. You'll get to be able, come back, kind of like Saturday Night Live, like the host.
Let's go.
You'll be a 5-timer.
I love it.
Thank you everybody for joining us.
Y'all come visit the church.
Absolutely, and like and subscribe. If you see us on YouTube, and then as we get it over to the other podcasting area. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. God bless.